And welcome mga katribo, good morning. Welcome to Straight Talk. I am Komfie Manalo. Today we will be discussing about a topic which is very close to my heart, is about financial inclusion. I mean, even before the pandemic, financial inclusion has been the buzzword ng Duterte administration. We've been hearing about financial inclusion, and the initiative is supposed to provide equal opportunity sa mga MSMEs. It's supposed to serve the unbanked and provide serving the unserved and providing financial opportunity or financial access sa mga maliliit na negosyante na walang access sa financial services. So now to give us an insight on financial or digital banking initiative ng Maybank is Mr. Dexter Go. So good morning, Mr. Dexter.
Good morning, Komfie. Good morning sa mga viewers niyo.
And thank you for hosting us here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to our main office branch.
And thank you very much. During the pandemic, of course, all industries have been appended. All the industries have been affected or impacted heavily by the disruption ng COVID-19. But fortunately, for the industries that were able to adopt digitally, were able to actually boon sa kanila tong pandemic. And isa dito yung financial services that were able to adapt sa digital transition.
Correct.
And isa diyan yung Maybank. So how did Maybank fare sa digital efforts?
Oh yeah. Maybank kasi was way ahead. No? Even before the pandemic happened, we were already pushing our digital strategy forward. No? So in 2019, we were able to launch the very first online account opening, which is called iSave, which is, in a nutshell, it became our digital flagship product when the pandemic happened. We were providing very convenient ways and frictionless way of opening an account. No? Our customers don't have to go to the branches anymore. All they have to do is to access M2U via their mobile phone or via their tablets, and then makaka-open na sila ng account. So when the pandemic happened, we were quite ready, at least digitally, sa Maybank, and we were able to see a lot of people opening digital accounts from the time that the pandemic started.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what the intention of this digital banking by banking the unbanked, which is 70% of the adult population ng Pilipinas. Walang financial access because wala silang bank account. And because wala silang bank account, they cannot access,
of course,
financial services.
Yes, correct.
So, and the pandemic has allowed even yung mga tao na hindi pa nakapasok sa loob ng branch ng bangko, were able to open their bank accounts. But unfortunately, there are only 6 banks na inalaw ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, ng Monetary Board, to operate digital banking.
Yes.
And so how does Maybank differ from the other 5?
Yeah. Well, as I've mentioned, we were quite ready even before the pandemic started. Maybank is very serious in our digital strategies. So meron na kaming plan na nakalatag even before the lockdowns happened. No? And what we wanted to happen, first and foremost, really, is to reach out to more people. Now, we wanted to support the BSP's initiative to provide financial inclusion, especially to those people outside Metro Manila. No? We all know, madaling magbangko when you're in Metro Manila, but once you go outside, especially when you go to the Visayas and the Mindanao region, access to physical branches is quite tricky. So that's what we had in mind when we designed iSave, because as we all know, the Philippines is the highest users of internet globally, and we wanted to ride that strength sa Pilipinas. And what we thought of is using the internet and using the mobile phone to be able to provide financial services to customers, and to those people na previously wala namang access sa account. So what happens now is that at any time na gusto niya mag-open ng account, all the customer has to do is to pull out his phone, download the Maybank to UPH app. From there, click open an iSave account. Picturean niya, mag-selfie siya, picturean niya yung kanyang ID, and within one banking day, open na yung kanyang account.
So paano yung process paano yung process ng pag-open ng bank account o ng account digitally?
Oh yeah, very simple.
How do you streamline it?
Very, very, very simple, in fact. No? Probably takes about less than 5 minutes, really. Click open an iSave account, fill up, basic information about yourself, take a selfie, take a photo of your government ID, and send it out, and the account will be open.
Yeah,
Very simple, very simple, really.
Yeah, you mentioned no, na the Philippines is one of the heavy users of the internet. And everywhere you go, no, kahit sa mga, sabi natin, mga medyo community na medyo hindi upmarket.
Of course.
Marami ka makikita dyan, lahat naka-smartphone. But how did you go about yung challenge or yung ng trust issue, di ba?
Yeah, of course. It's one of the things that naging very, very important to us is really assuring our customers that our system is secure and it's safe to use. Yung mga Pinoy kasi sanay nag-Facebook, sanay nag-Instagram or nag-TikTok, and we wanted to copy that idea. No? We wanted our customers to feel secure using our systems, and by doing so, we have implemented several security measures. No? Whenever you access the app, there are several layers of security that's implemented. First and foremost, biometrics. No? So either your face, yung facial profile mo, or your fingerprint. Pagkatapos, meron pang password within the app. And then after that, meron pang additional password na ipinapadala sa registered mobile phone ni customer. So in conjunction, yung tatlo na yun ensures customer na yung transaction niya, siya lang ang makakagawa. Another thing that we focus on is that contrary to other strategies ng ibang bangko, Maybank is pushing for the phygital strategy. Phygital meaning we are providing digital services, the convenience of digital services, but at any point in time, you want to talk to a bank officer, you want to talk to a relationship manager or a loan officer to give you financial advice, you can go to any of our 63 branches nationwide. No, so may branches ang Maybank from in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, so they can go there also. Kasi digital can only do as much. It can automate the transactions, it can make your life easier when you're doing your transactions. Pero of course, banks operate on the principle of trust.
Yeah, of course.
And sometimes gusto mo may kausap ka, gusto mo meron kang nakukuhang advice from somebody na kaharap mo and kausap mo. And Maybank is very, very strong also in that aspect. No?
So,
we humanize
maganda
financial services.
pa minsan naman nakakausap na rin, diba? Na tao, and you can visit the brick and mortar branch.
Tama.
And what kind of market segment are you looking at, and what are you offering to these market segments?
Okay. Well, as a bank, we have two markets, no? yung corporate side and the retail side. Retail side naman is split into two segments pa. Yung affluent, which is being serviced by our Premier Wealth relationship managers, and yung retail, which is being serviced by the branches and by our digital channels. The good thing about our Maybank UPH app, it services both the affluent and the retail customers.
HNWIs.
Oo, so it transcends, no? It transcends the barriers between the two markets, no? Kasi for our affluent customers, we do offer high interest rates when you open an iSave account, and also sa retail naman, your day-to-day transactions that you want to reload your mobile phone, reload your RFID toll pass, or pay your Meralco bills, pay your a lot of things. So the way we design our digital channel really is to provide convenient services across all market segments.
Balikan ko yun, medyo segue lang ako sa mga affluent markets.
Yeah.
I used to write for a foreign publication that focused on alternative investments or hedge funds.
Yes.
So yung HNWIs nyo, what kind of products do you offer them?
We actually position iSave to be a high interest bearing deposit account. So we've seen, especially during the pandemic, that a lot of our high net worth clients are really opening an iSave account kasi it offers the best of both worlds. It's an investment instrument to some extent kasi it earns higher interest. Plus, it provides the liquidity. At any point in time, they want access to that fund. Pwede silang mag-withdraw, no? Because with iSave, you can actually withdraw from any ATM machine, any BankNet ATM for free. No, we don't charge them for that. So it's very, very convenient, especially for those na malaki yung nakalagay sa kanilang account. It offers the high interest rates that they're looking for, and it offers also the convenience of having access to that money at any point in time.
In the Philippines, cash is still king.
Oh, yes.
Lahat ng transaction dito, cash,
Yes.
almost cash. A majority of the transactions here are still completed through cash transactions. But you know, the BSP is trying to provide initiative na to promote yung digital heavy transactions.
Yes.
Buti na lang because of the pandemic, marami tayong nagsumikat ng e-wallet,
Of course,
diba?
yes.
And maging cash light society. So how does Maybank help achieve this goal of the administration?
Well, Maybank has been fully supportive of the BSP initiatives, especially on the digital front. BSP has been very aggressive in pushing digital transactions. And I guess because of the pandemic, people in the country became more comfortable doing digital transactions. I agree. Before, cash yan di ba? What they want is that when they go to a store, bayad ng cash, or gusto nila, hawak nila yung pera nila parate. But since the pandemic happened, we've seen a huge jump in the number of digital transactions. Only because, of course, there's this safety concern brought about by COVID, and by doing so, kami sa Maybank, we've actually implemented QR Pay, wherein we can actually read QR codes of other banks. Hindi na siya exclusive. Before, and this is because of BSP as well, of the initiative of BSP. Before, ang QR code ng isang bangko, siya lang ang nakabasa, and all of the other banks are doing that. But because of the QRPH initiative of BSP, we can now actually read each other's QR codes. So it makes it easier for us to transfer. And eventually, it will make it easier for us to pay merchants. All we have to do is to scan any QR code that's displayed on the storefront, and pwede mo na siyang bayaran using your account. Maybank will always support BSP's digitization of the country. I think it will help push for more financial inclusion, especially for the underserved and the unbanked segment. And I guess because of what's happening around us, because of COVID, a lot of people now are evolving. A lot of transactions are evolving as well, and because there are a lot of also yung mga informal jobs happening, di ba? Yung nagde-deliver ng food, nagbe-bake ng cake, or the delivery riders, for example. It's easier to transact. You don't have to, to hand out physical money.
Yeah, tsaka hindi
It's safer
delikado.
for everyone.
Diba? One of the concerns issues ng yung mga vendors. Bawa ako, nagbibili ako ng isda sa Navotas. Diba? Dadala ako ng pera, bibili ako ng ilang banyerang isda. At nako-hold up meron ka problema ng issue ng baka ma-hold up ka pa, diba? But if you're using QR code, diba? Pwede ka na ngayon mag-transact, mabayaran. And surprisingly ngayon, diba, even yung mga small vendors, you can actually transact digitally.
Yes.
Pay for a few pesos lang, diba?
Tama. The QR code kasi makes it easier. Before, you have to have hardware doon na nakakabasa ng card, diba?
May POS pa, diba?
But now, you print out the QR code, ilagay mo yun sa iyong storefront. Pag in-scan yun, the money goes straight away to your account and instant. Walang waiting. And that's how convenient digital banking is now compared to a few years ago.
So before we delve into what digital banking is, can you define what digital banking is? Can you tell our viewers, our readers, because I will also be writing about this interview for our newspaper. So tell us what is digital banking.
Digital banking simply is providing digital financial services using digital channels. So we want to harp on the strength of the proliferation of mobile phones in the country. So using that mobile phone, you will have access to financial transactions. You will have access to your accounts. And moving forward, you'll have access to a lot more, because digital banking is continuously evolving.
Yeah, and because you'll get your digital footprint, then you'll have banking footprint, and then eventually you can actually apply for that. Meron ka ng bank account.
Tama.
Access. So we'd like to know more about the trends and innovations of digital banking in the country. But before you answer that, we will take a short break.
Sure.
Thank you. See, tama na?
Botomoto Halalan 2022, the Daily Tribune special coverage.
Chris masaya, pagsama-sama.
Bong, yung naumpisahan ko, tapusin mo. Mga bagong highway, tulay, tren, dapat ma-enjoy na kaagad ng mga tao yan. Kailangan lahat bakunado at laging may ayuda pag kailangan. Huwag dapat makabalik ang mga drug lords para ligtas ang pamilya. Yung ginawa mong malasakit centers, maganda yan. Padamihin mo pa. Magkasama tayo. Tayo ang nagsimula, tuloy-tuloy lang, Bong.
Botomoto Halalan 2022, the Daily Tribune special coverage.
Chris masaya, pagsama-sama.
Welcome back to Straight Talk. Still with us is Maybank's head of virtual banking, Mr. Dexter Go. And let's go back to our hanging question before the break. Before the break, I asked you, what are the trends of digital banking innovations in the country?
Well, what we're seeing is that a lot of banks actually are focusing on providing services that go beyond banking. And I guess it relies heavily dun sa customer experience. Of course, digital customers are more demanding. Mas gusto nila very quick services, gusto nila instant, gusto nila very diverse. No? So I think what's happening now is a lot of banks are moving towards lifestyle banking, which means na apart from yung traditional banking transactions, so mag-transfer ng funds or mag-check ng accounts or magbayad ng bills, what we're seeing is that eventually banks will be able to offer services beyond that. No? Mag-open ng trust accounts, for example, or mag-invest or bumili ng mga everyday items. No? I guess, and we'll be seeing that in the next few years. Also internally naman for banks, they have been we especially for Maybank, we optimize our back-end processes to support digitization. We redesign our system in architecture. Overall, the general idea really is to improve customer experience, no? Because at the end of the day, it's the customer that's benefiting from everything that we're doing.
And if I may ask, siguro yung embedded banking,
Yes.
we don't know that in some of the transactions that we do, there's actually banking transactions going on in the background.
Yes.
And so, what do you think is pushing the growth of digital banking?
Well, before the pandemic happened, no, we have to admit na the growth of digital banking, particularly in the Philippines, is quite low, no, compared to other countries in the region. But what happened when the pandemic happened and the subsequent lockdown is that we've seen a huge spike in penetration rate of digital banking in the Philippines. So that's a very good indication for us. No? It shows that our country is ready. It's just a matter of educating our customers. No? Because it's very easy to do digital transactions instead of going to the branch and falling in line and wait for your turn before you can do the transaction. No? So what we're aiming for, no, particularly for Maybank Philippines, is really to mimic the branch experience, but we're bringing it at the comfort of your own home and the comfort of your own time. That's what we're aiming for.
Do you think digital banking will disrupt the banking industry?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
How?
because of a lot of banks going into digital banking, no, customers are now more digital savvy. No? It's an after effect.
And it's a lifestyle now.
Oo, it becomes parts of their day-to-day activities. No? Before digital banking, you know, when you have to go to the bank, you know, you have to medyo dress well ng konti, di ba? Mag-ayos ng konti, go to the bank and transact. No? With digital banking, it broke down that barrier. No? That's why it's easier for the previously unbanked people to open an account. Hindi na sila naku-conscious to ano, kasi there's always been a perception na going to a bank is an, you know, it's an elite experience. No? But hindi naman, no?
And then, even I noticed nga yung branch nyo, di ba? Medyo relax yung yung atmosphere.
Exactly. We want people to be relaxed when you open an account, for example, or when you do your financial transactions. And that's what we do also digitally. And that is why we think na ang digital banking really is causing ripples in the financial industry. It's easier for them to pay. It's easier for them to open an account. And by doing so, branches are actually transforming from, you know, a transactional branch into a more into a financial educator. No? People can come to the branch, and because konti na lang yung nagtatransact ng mga payments at saka ng mga transfers, then they can now provide sound financial advice to customers. Diba? And that's what we do here in Maybank. Especially ngayon, meron na tayong mga premier centers. You go there so you can, you know, get sound financial advice from us.
So talking about yung financial centers nyo, yung how do you call this type of branch?
This is the premier center.
Premier center. So what's in Maybank's digital customer experience?
Okay. Well, as far as the digital banking is concerned, the Maybank to UPH, it's very simple to use. In fact, it's very intuitive. We revamped our app a few years ago, and we didn't even have to tell customers how to use it. And that's the general idea, di ba? When you put out an app, for example, or when you put out a website, we want people to be naturally inclined to use it. No, yung alam na niya which buttons to press, ano yung kailangan niyang gawin, ano yung kailangan niyang hintayin. And that's what we aim for all the time. No? So we make the design very user friendly. We make the transactions upfront already. So alam mo na kaagad, wala ka na nung a lot of clicks and menus to look at. That's what we want to happen. And in the next few years, no, hopefully, we will be providing a more seamless customer experience across all channels.
So how did Maybank's digital innovations impacted the bank's growth?
We've seen a lot of customers coming in through our digital channels. In fact, we've grown leaps and bounds as far as customers are concerned. Only because it's easier na nga to open an account. No? Of course, we have 64 branches nationwide. They can go anywhere and open an account there. But at any point in time, they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, naisip na magbukas kaya ako ng account. All they have to do is go to the Maybank to UPH app and makakapagbukas siya. And by doing so, we were able to reach out to a lot more customers. No? And I must say that we have a very healthy customer base inside iSafe.
So with Maybank's vision about digital and improved customer experience, how do you correlate that with the digital banking as a whole contributing to the country's economic growth?
Oh, yes. Because it's easier to access financial transactions. No? It's easier for people to save. No? It's easier for entrepreneurs to run their businesses. Because of yung mas madaling payment schemes, may QR codes na, no? And especially during this time, no? And moving forward to the new normal, mas madali for people to set up an account and to run a business and to save money and to earn very good interests in there. And hopefully, by doing so, you know, a lot of people would be able to experience more financial freedom then, no? And which eventually will stimulate, you know, a very good economic growth for the Philippines.
Can you explain Maybank's convenient and digital banking platform, that considering that you have 60 branches nationwide and 90 offsite ATMs?
Well, if I were to describe our digital channels, it's easy to use, it's secure, and it's convenient. No? I guess that rounds up the whole thing, no? Because we're very, very conscious in providing those three things. So whenever we design something, we want it to be easy to use, We want it to be very convenient for customers. That's why during the pandemic, we've also expanded the IDs that we accept when you open an account. Dati, there's a shorter list. Now there's longer list para we give more access to other people. We are also aligned with the Maybank Group with regard to the digital initiatives through straight-through processes and customer turnaround times. We want account opening to be faster. We want loans processing to be faster as well. So there are a lot of organizational changes as well behind the scenes that we're doing, so to be able to provide the seamless and instant experience for our customers.
You described earlier, the banking industry as a business of trust.
Yes.
But now that we're shifting towards digital banking, there's also, of course, the issue of trust again. And the biggest issue of digital banking is cybersecurity. In
Yes.
fact, meron tayo mga issue ng mga malaking banks that are hacked, that were hacked by the cyber criminals. So how do you address the cybersecurity threat, and how do you address this naman to provide security sa customers?
Okay. Well, internally, within Maybank, we have a very robust cybersecurity policies in place. We're monitoring transactions as it happens. But then again, of course, for the customer, trust kasi is something that you earn. So what we are looking at is that whenever our customers transact, they get this feeling of security. And we'd like to say na as far as the Maybank experience is concerned, we haven't had any issues on hacking or fraudulent
Security
transactions.
breach.
It's because meron nga kaming multiple levels of security implemented. Now, for the customers, we continuously educate them with regard to cybersecurity. Kasi security happens, security breaches happen kaagad sa customer side. So we continuously educate them, about phishing, about having secure passwords, or not providing your accesses to other people, or wag maglista ng password kung saan. We continuously educate them. We do SMS notifications, may mga Viber blast. Within the app, we also send messages. So tuloy-tuloy yan. Our team in Maybank is always on the lookouts and always updating our customers as to what's happening as far as cybersecurity is concerned.
Thank you very much, Sir Dexter. It's been very interesting to hear from you, how the digital banking initiative is disrupting the whole financial institution, and this is a positive disruption.
Yes.
And when we return, we will be discussing how fintech companies are disrupting naman the banking business. So we will take a short break.
Botomoto Halalan 2022, the Daily Tribune special coverage.
Chris Masaya, pagsama-sama. Alamin ang latest entertainment at sa mga paborito niyong celebrities kasama si Pocholo Concepcion sa programang What's Up. Makibanding at kwentuhan kasama ang mga kilalang personalidad sa entertainment industry. Sama-sama natin silang kilalanin at silipin ang makulay nilang mundo every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Kaya sit back and relax lang kayo mga katribu. Hanapin at ilike ang Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now on YouTube. Dahil sagot na namin ang masayang kwentuhan, dito lang sa What's Up. Ang Daily Tribune may digital shows na din. Dahil sa mas lumalaki at mas lumalakas nating tribu, handog sa inyo ng Daily Tribune ang mga programang magbibigay buhay araw-araw. Be informed at mag-good vibes tuwing umaga sa programang Gising Na. Be updated sa news and happenings sa Tribune News on Cue. Mas kilalanin pa natin ang mga paborito nyong atleta sa programang The Athletes Tribune. Alamin ang latest entertainment sa programang What's Up. Ma-inspire sa mga kwentong hatid ng Perfect. Search lang ang Daily Tribune sa inyong Facebook at Tribune Now on YouTube. See you there mga katribu!
Botomoto Halalan 2022, the Daily Tribune special coverage.
Chris Masaya, pagsama-sama.
And welcome back. You are still watching Straight Talk. I am still Komfie Manalo, and with us is still Mr. Dexter Go of Maybank. Before the break, we left a hanging question about how does fintech companies disrupt the banking industry?
It's a very interesting question, Komfie. No? Of course, there are a lot of fintechs. No? Merong mga dati na, merong mga up and coming. No?
Mga startups.
And the thing about fintechs is that there are services really that are encroaching on the financial space already. No? And to us, no, strategically, the idea it does disrupt the the banking institution, but strategically, what we want to happen is we want to work with the fintechs.
Yeah,
no?
exactly.
We don't consider them as competitors. No? Imagine when you combine the banking experience of a bank, Maybank, for example, and then yung pagiging innovative ng isang fintech company. Imagine the customer experience na makukuha niya ng customers, di ba? And at the end of the day, panalo si customer. And then that's what I guess everybody wants to happen, di ba?
Yeah.
Gusto natin eventually the Philippines being a very internet savvy country, gusto natin maging financially savvy din sila. And we can only achieve that if we work together, no? If we compete, then at the end of the day walang mananalo eh. But if we work with fintechs and them being disruptors of the banking industry also keeps us on our toes, no? It forces us to innovate. It forces us to evolve our services. And as I've said, ang panalo sa ganyang situation parate is the customer.
And of course, there are a lot of fintech startups that will complement the banking services.
Yes,
Like
tama.
yung mga involved sa PropTech,
Yes.
diba, sa InsurTech,
Oo,
diba?
yep.
Yeah. So they say digital banking is inclusive. Ito yung lagi natin narinig sa DOF,
Yes.
sa BSP, financial inclusion, inclusive growth, etc., etc. Banking the unbanked, serving the underserved. So how do you explain this? How does Maybank or the digital banking initiative of Maybank will provide opportunity for the unbanked, the underserved, and the unserved?
Yeah. What's important in reaching out to the underserved or the unbanked is really access. No? Kailangan magkaroon siya ng access do sa financial institution. And by going digital, it makes it easier for them to access. No? I mean, the Philippines is from Luzon to Visayas to Mindanao covered naman na ng data ng telcos yan. And that being said, because in the Philippines mas marami ang may mobile phone versus the actual population of the country, di ba? So that means more often than not those people who we term unbanked or underserved actually has a mobile phone.
Yes.
And that mobile phone can actually become their access already to the world of financial transactions. All we have to do is really educate them, reach out to them and tell them, it's easier to open now. Hindi mo na kailangan magpunta ng branch, for example, or you only need an ID, a government ID, and mag-selfie ka lang, makakapag-open ka na ng account. And once the underserved segment of the society actually go into digital banking, then a lot of financial opportunities will open up. We also have Maybank Foundation actually has a flagship program called RISE. It's short for Rise for Independence and Sustainable Enterprise, which actually teaches our benefactors, our beneficiaries, how to attain financial freedom. 5 years since its launch in the Philippines, phase 2 of RISE actually has trained as many as 1,866 participants. We're teaching them to run their own business, to become entrepreneurs. Especially for those people with disabilities, we also reach out to them. We're really teaching people to be more financially independent. And hopefully with Maybank's RISE, complemented by our network of branches And supported by our digital initiatives, we will be able to, bring more people into the financial folds.
So, punta na tayo sa medyo malapit-lapit sa workplace. So, how does digital banking impact yung workplace? How does Maybank's digital banking initiatives contribute to providing a more employment and ensuring people's tenure and employment status?
Okay. There's always been a misconception that whenever a company goes digital, no, naapektuhan yung mga tao. No?
Personnel
Oo,
mabawasan.
which is not the case. In fact, we're seeing at least 15% as far as Maybank is concerned, there's at least 15% increase in hiring. No? Why? Because we want to provide more, we wanted to provide faster services. No? Of course, yung mga back-end processing sometimes that need manpower, we have to address that. New job roles and new skills are also needed, no? Especially digital savvy employees.
Yes. You have just upskill them.
Oo, we upskill them. We teach them to expand their capabilities as well. So I guess we want to take out that stigma na whenever a company goes digital, nagbabawas ng tao. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. In fact,
Not always,
mas kailangan pa natin ng
Actually,
skills.
I agree. While technology is capable of eliminating some jobs, it is also creating an opportunity. Like sa amin, sa industry namin, sa newspaper or sa publication. Kasi I started ng 90s. So noon, may typewriter pa kami.
Tama.
Meron kaming encoder, meron kaming typesetter. So ngayon, because of the digitalization, nawala yung mga department na yun.
Tama.
Pero dadagdagan kami ng department na panibago, yung
exactly.
digital layout artist.
Yes.
So, may nawalang department, may naman na-create. So,
Tama.
yun naman in other industries, I'm sure ganun din. No?
And in the case of Maybank, because we're pushing for the phygital strategy, no, there's a clear delineation as to the purpose of digital and our manpower. No, for transactions, digital na. We push them to go digital. Pero for relationships, we push them to go to the branches and talk to our relationship managers. Kasi that's the only way, we can actually provide sound financial advice. Kailangan face-to-face, and kailangan there's actually interaction between the customers and our relationship managers.
So, tell us your outlook on digital banking.
It will continue to grow. No? I think there's always room to grow, particularly for digital banking. The Philippines as a country is still in the early stages of going digital, but we're seeing a lot of banks going digital, no? Which is actually good kasi when a lot of banks go digital, then customer education becomes more prevalent. Mas matututo sila. So at the end of the day, it's really it will boil down to the kind of services you provide para maging ikaw yung bank of choice ng customers, no? And that will push banks, Maybank included, to provide superior services. No? And as I've said, sa ganyang scenario, ang parating panalo yung customer. No? And everybody is happy when that happens.
Any parting words for our viewers?
I guess what I can say is that digital banking is here. It will continue to grow. It will continue to innovate. All we have to do is to experience it, no? and to see how secure and how easy it is to do transactions using the internet and using devices. And Maybank Philippines is together with the strong leadership of Maybank Group, is committed to serve the country by supporting sustainability, and we always want to be at the heart of the community to be able to reach out to more customers, to be able to bring services to the previously unbanked sector of the society. Maybank Philippines will continue to bring the best practices coming from the region. As you all know, Maybank is the 4th largest bank in the Southeast Asian region, and what we do is that we bring the best practices from the different regional offices to the Philippines to be able to provide, superior services and more innovative services for our customers.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It has been a delight to have you on the show.
Pleasure.
And
Pleasure.
sa mga unbanked and underserved, don't worry, don't be afraid. Embrace digital banking. It is there to provide opportunities for you. It is there to offer you access sa financial services and financial inclusion na programa ng Duterte administration. And watch Straight Talk every Tuesday at 10 a.m. On Daily Tribune's official page and on Tribune Now on YouTube for the replay of the latest edition. I am Komfie Manalo and this has been Straight Talk. Good morning.